Alright, it's 5:30 a.m. and I'm about to leave for a morning walk. But before I leave, I want to talk about how early mornings like these remind me why I have come to love being on my own for a while. How I have finally grown to find peace within myself and spend time with myself without feeling this anxiety penting up. Because staying single for a while gives you the space to grow or to just be. And that's what I want to talk about today, the often overlooked and obscure side of being single or being alone, the positive side of spending time in solitude, and how that time can be so valuable and so important, the real validation you need in your life. So, you do not need another relationship or situationship. Definitely not a situationship in any case. But you do not need another relationship to finally feel or truly feel happy and fulfilled. It's not the ultimate finish line, it might seem like it. But this is more about finding yourself, finding your value within yourself, not necessarily through a partner or through a person, but through being in solitude. And society sends this message very strongly that relationships are the end goal in life. But imagine when your identity gets really tangled up with your partner. What do you think happens when that partner is not there anymore? What happens when your significant other does not behave in a way that you want them to, or they leave? You feel like a bit of an identity crisis there, literally. Because constant juggling of someone else's needs and moods, and especially abandoning your own, can do that to you. It's so easy to start almost unconsciously mirroring your partner's interests and their opinions over years slowly. It's like always putting your anchor outside of yourself. It's like handing over your sanity remote control to someone else. And that can have pretty big consequences down the line. And I learned that the hard way. So, here are five things or lessons I learned in solitude or being single or alone for a while, whatever you want to call it. First is I realized I am way more interesting and funny than I thought I was, which is funny in itself. I'm usually the one who's cracking jokes and stuff all the time, and more so around people that I'm comfortable with. But I started noticing that it had started to happen at the cost of my own, like that people pleasing element, that compulsion of being funny to be accepted or cracking a joke when the situation gets serious to balance it out. But when I got quiet, like not really quiet, I got conscious of that pattern. I realized how much energy I spent trying to be palatable to others, toning myself down, being funny, cracking jokes, molding myself to fit in. And basically, I was around people who didn't even like the real me, just the version of me I was performing for them, the easy one. And slowly I started to notice my humor, my wit again, and honestly realizing it for myself felt much better than hearing it from someone else outside. That was the real validation of my life. Second, it's not inherently bad to want to be in a loving and healthy relationship, but at some point, you start loving solitude more when you notice misalignment continuously, when you notice things going south with everyone, because you are actually being called to spend time alone with yourself in solitude. It is a choice that you actively make to gain clarity, to gain peace again, a phase of realignment, and not always a waiting room for love. Being single is not just a gap between relationships. Think of being alone not as like a waiting room, but as actively building a bedrock, building a solid internal foundation, the groundwork before something you can build on top of it that's meant to last forever. It makes you less likely to fall into patterns of codependency and to lose yourself in the process in your relationships later on, which can be the best thing you can do for your future relationships right now, and most importantly, for yourself. Let's keep it there. Third point is when you spend more time with yourself, you notice how often you just give away your energy and time freely to people who didn't really reciprocate and respect it. That's what we have been talking about, really. But I was literally outsourcing my validation without realizing it. I remember a time when I thought I needed to be with someone all the time to feel fulfilled, to feel that reassurance and validation. And whenever things ended, I had no idea who I was anymore, like losing my own sense of self. My whole identity crumbled whenever that happened. And I started questioning, who am I without this person? Or what do I want to do outside of this connection? I would even tweak my plans and goals for others, for them to stay. But that was a wake up call for me to put my anchor back inside again. And when I stayed alone for a while, I slowly got used to praising myself instead of waiting for other people to do it for me. And I didn't even have to learn it necessarily, it came naturally with time. Now, fourth, there's a big difference between being single and feeling lonely. Some kinds of growth require solitude, setting your own routine at your own pace, making decisions just for you, completely independently, exploring new interests without checking if someone else approves or want to join. That's where self-trust is born. Many people stay in bad relationships because they are scared of being alone. Because let's be real, at first you might not like it. Nobody likes it at first. It can sting more than you expect. You may find yourself reaching for validation or distractions for someone else to fill that void, that empty space. It's human. We are wired for connection. But if you stay with it long enough, with enough time spent on your own, you start to see what you truly need, not just what you have been conditioned to want or need. And slowly that sting calms automatically. It basically all comes down to giving yourself time, letting yourself get used to a new thing, a new habit, because it does not happen overnight. Fifth point is I always had opinions, dreams, preferences like everybody else, but I filtered them through what others thought, thinking it was more realistic or acceptable or important, maybe out of habit, maybe out of putting people on pedestal who I thought were important, one of my thorns. But solitude helped me hear my own voice clearly again. I was not listening to my own voice before. You begin to hear your side of things beneath the noise again. You do not feel guilty for doing what's right for you. You just do it. You just go for it because you know yourself and no one knows you better than yourself. But ask yourself or observe what part of your identity or personality might actually get stronger if you intentionally took some moments out for solitude. What if the love you're constantly seeking or desperately seeking outside is the one you have not given yourself yet? The one that does not leave when you're too much, you're too emotional, or you are too quiet, or whatever. It does not leave you. Not a fleeting validation that, you know, fades within weeks. The permission to just be for a while and stay there without performing, without proving. Not resisting the want to be in a healthy relationship, but putting it in the back burner for a while and seeing how things unfold when you shift your focus and turn inward and see how fulfilling life can be with just you in it. That's the homecoming when you return to yourself. And when someone comes along that actually aligns with you, you do not lose yourself in the process because now you know the way back home. And that's what matters.